Hello everyone. Today I'm pretty excited to share one important feature in our Visual Studio related to debugging. Therefore, we might have encountered situations where we want to debug a certain portion or a certain API in our application logic, but to invoke that particular API or functionality, we have to do many workflows or many tweaks in the code or certain conditional statements we need to modify in our code so that that particular portion or that particular API gets triggered, which we want to debug. So that is a painful task when we want to debug a small API and we want to do lot of means lot of code changes to enable that particular API to get invoked. Also, if you want to invoke that particular API in a natural workflow, we have to do many manual actions in our desktop application or in our web application anyway. Therefore, Visual Studio provides us a feature wherein we will be able to isolate a particular API and test it with the help of the Visual Studio feature called Initialize Interactive with project. Therefore, if you right click on any managed project, and there will be a option that will list as Initialize Interactive with project. When you just click on this particular feature, what happens is your application, that library that you have selected, gets built in the default configuration that is here. Currently, it is debug and any CPU, and once it is built it will create a temporary application or like a console application, you can imagine, where all the DLLs which this particular library references gets loaded in that particular exe process, and you will be able to write specific code to invoke that particular API which you are interested in debugging. Therefore, in my case, this is a class. Citibank Payment Gateway is a class, and Process Payment is the API. Therefore, I want to debug only this API. Therefore, this is part of a larger code. Therefore, it has different classes in it, and different logic is there, and different relationships are there among different classes. Therefore, I don't want to mess up. I don't want to enter this particular API from the natural flow or from the main function. I don't want to enter this particular API because that is too much code changes that I have to do or too much manual effort is required. For here, if you just enable this feature or click on this particular feature, use interactive project, then what happens is a temporary exe gets created and all the reference DLLs are loaded. And I want to invoke this particular API. Therefore, how it can be done? I will just do, I will try to first create an object of this particular class. If I will name it as that object as city and use new city bank, just copy this particular class name and just paste it here. And you have to include the corresponding namespace, design patterns. You have to press enter at the end. If there is an error that this cannot be found because you have to include a namespace here. Therefore, here that namespace will be design patterns dot structural dot bridge namespace. And once this namespace is included, you will be able to create this new Citibank. As you can see, IntelliSense provides that suggestion that this is the class, and you can very well go ahead and create this object. Therefore, now you can see the once you press enter, the statement gets executed, and that particular object is successfully created. And you can use this object to invoke any API of interest. For before pressing enter, you have to actually attach if you want to debug. If you are interested in debugging this thing, therefore you have to attach to a process which is created by that particular feature. Therefore, that process name is interactive host 64.exe because it is running in 64 mode, and this is the process name interactive host 64. So I'll just try to attach to this particular process so that we'll be able to debug this particular application. Once I before entering, I have to pass some argument or some payment mode argument I have to pass, which is particular API accepts. I have to process net banking as a payment mode, and when I press enter, you can see this particular breakpoint gets hit. If I have no way touch the main application, or no, I have not entered this particular API from the main workflow or from the main path. I took a short I actually took a shortcut to enter this particular API using this particular interactive command prompt, which is called the C sharp interactive command prompt. And I'll be able to see the value of this payment mode, which is passed from this interactive command prompt as time. So this is particularly helpful when you are debugging very heavy application with lot of classes and lot of APIs involved, and you don't want to actually mess up with the code, so that you will be able to debug your API of interest. So this becomes a pretty handy feature in here. If you go to this immediate window, you'll be able to see your variable name. If you just since the debug mode, you just switch to the immediate window and just copy this particular thing and just press enter. You'll be able to see the value of that particular variable. Therefore, you will be able to also change the variable name to something like a different variable name. If you just change it, now that variable name changes, and by this way, you will be able to test your API thoroughly. You can provide different arguments to your API and test your API thoroughly with different arguments. So this is a particularly very useful feature which is provided from Visual Studio, which is not popular as such, because a lot of people don't know about this feature called interactive Initialize Interactive with project. For this particular feature is there from 2019, but it is still not discovered, or till it is still not popularized among the developer community. So I feel that it's a particularly important feature to have. For this particular code base is from the design pattern exercise. Therefore, you can actually go through my list of videos to see this particular explanation on this design bridge design pattern. And I have a video on the observer design pattern as well. I will link those in the comment section, pin those in the comment section below. Please do check it out, and please do like and subscribe this particular video and channel if you find it helpful and useful. Thank you all, and do share your video community in your community sections. Therefore, thanks all for watching. Catch you in the next video. Thank you.